If you're over 50 and thinking about starting an online business, let me save you about 6 months of frustration. Because if I were starting from scratch today, there are three things I absolutely would not do. I wouldn't spend weeks building a website. I wouldn't create a product before I knew somebody wanted it. And I wouldn't try to build an audience on 5 different social media platforms. I'd keep it ridiculously simple. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what I'd build, where I'd get my first traffic, and how I'd turn those visitors into leads and eventually customers. And more importantly, you'll understand why I build it this way. Because if you're over 50, you've probably already got enough things competing for your time. You don't need another complicated project that's going to eat up your evenings and weekends. You need something you can actually understand, build step by step, and fit around your life. So let's start with the first thing I do. I choose a business model that doesn't require me to create a product from scratch. And for me, that would be affiliate marketing. Now, before you switch off because you've heard about affiliate marketing 100 times, let me explain what I mean. I'm not talking about grabbing an affiliate link and randomly posting it everywhere, hoping somebody buys something. That's not a business. That's basically hoping. What I mean is building a simple system around affiliate marketing. You find a product or service that genuinely solves a problem for the people you're trying to help. You introduce the right people to that solution. And if they decided to buy through your referral, you'll earn a commission. Now, the big advantage when you're starting out is that you don't have to spend months creating your own product. You don't have to manufacture anything. You don't have to deal with inventory. And depending on the offer, you may not have to deal with customer service either. You're essentially connecting people who have a problem with a solution that can help them solve it. And that's a very attractive place to start if you're over 50 and don't want to spend the next 2 years learning how to build an entire company from scratch. But there's a problem, and this is where most beginners get it wrong. They think the first question is, what should I sell? I actually think that's the wrong question. The first question I'd ask is, who am I trying to help and what are they already looking for? Because you can have the greatest product in the world, but if nobody knows it exists, you're not going to make any sales, clearly. It's like opening the world's greatest little coffee shop at the end of a dead-end road with no sign. You might make incredible coffee, but nobody's coming. So before I built anything, I'd figure out who I wanted to help and what problems they were already trying to solve. And in my case, that would be people over 50 who want to create additional income and more freedom, but don't necessarily want to become influencers or spend their entire life online. Once I know who I'm helping, I'd look at what they're already searching for. What questions are they asking? What problems are frustrating them? What are they trying to figure out? And what kind of solutions are they already looking for? Because that gives you something incredibly valuable, and that's demand. And this is one of the biggest mistakes I see beginners make. They create something first and then go looking for somebody to buy it. I do the opposite. I'd find the problem first, then I'd find the people, then I'd find the solution. And only then would I worry about building the business around it. Now, once I know who I'm helping and what they want, I've got to solve the next big problem, traffic. Because you can have the perfect offer, the perfect funnel, the perfect email sequence, and if nobody sees you, none of it matters. And this is where I would make a very deliberate decision. I would not try to build an audience on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube all at the same time. I've seen too many beginners do that. They create a Facebook account, then an Instagram account, then TikTok, then YouTube. Then they start worrying about emails, funnels, and then websites. And 6 weeks later, they've got 7 accounts, 12 passwords, and absolutely no idea what they're actually supposed to be doing. I'd pick one traffic source, and if I was starting again today, I'd choose YouTube. And there's a very specific reason. I'm not choosing YouTube because I want to become a famous YouTuber. I couldn't care less about becoming famous. I'd use YouTube because it can put my content in front of people who are already searching for answers. And that's a massive difference. If somebody searches YouTube for how do I start an online business after 50, or how does affiliate marketing work, or maybe how can I make extra income from home, they're already telling you what they're interested in. They're raising their hand, And that's the kind of traffic I want. But there's another reason I like YouTube. A video can continue working long after you've published it. That's very different from constantly having to create something new just to stay visible. And that's particularly important for the person I'm talking to. Because if you're over 50 or 60 or even 70, I'm guessing your goal isn't to spend 8 hours a day making content. You've got a life, you've got family, you've got things you want to do. Maybe you want to travel. Maybe you want to spend more time with your kids or grandkids. Maybe you simply want to get to the point where you don't have to work quite as hard. So I'd rather build a library of useful videos that can continue attracting the right people over time than try to become a full-time social media content creator. Now, there's one thing I would change about how I approach YouTube if I was starting from scratch. I wouldn't make videos just to get views. I'd make videos designed to attract the right people. Because a million random views aren't necessarily worth as much as a few thousand views from people who actually need what you teach. And that's a really important distinction. We're not trying to become an influencer. We're building a business. And that brings me to the third thing I do. I'd capture the people who find me. Because here's the problem with relying entirely on YouTube. You don't own YouTube, you don't own Facebook, and you don't own Instagram, and you don't own TikTok. Those platforms can change their algorithms, change their rules, or in the extreme case, you could lose access to your account. So if somebody watches one of your videos, loves what you teach, and then disappears, you may never see that person again. That's why I'd build an email list from day one. And I would keep this simple too. I wouldn't create some massive 47-page ebook that takes me 3 months to write. I'd create something small and genuinely useful. A checklist, a simple roadmap, a quick start guide, something that solves one immediate problem for the person watching. For example, if I'm making a video about starting an online business after 50, I might offer a simple roadmap that shows them exactly what to do first, what comes next, and what not to waste their time on. The viewer clicks the link, they enter their email address, then they get the free resource. And now I have permission to keep continually helping them. And that's a completely different relationship from somebody who simply watched one of my videos. Because now I can send them useful information. I can answer common questions. I can tell stories. I can show them mistakes to avoid. I can introduce them to solutions that might genuinely help them. And most importantly, I can build trust over time. Because most people don't buy something the first time they hear about it. They need to understand it. They need to trust the person recommending it. And they need to decide whether it's right for them. That's where email becomes incredibly powerful. And then we get to the fourth piece, automation. This is the part that I built after I had the first 3 pieces working, not before. And that's important because beginners often start with the technology. They start looking for the perfect website builder, the perfect funnel software, the perfect email platform, the perfect automation. And they spend weeks building a beautiful machine before they even know if anybody wants what they're selling. I would not do that. I'd prove the basic system first, get the right people watching my content, give them something useful, build the email list, make sure people are interested in the solution, and then I'd automate the repetitive parts. So here's what the whole thing would eventually look like. Somebody finds one of your YouTube videos. They watch it because I'm solving a problem they have. I offer them a useful free resource. They click the link, they join my email list, they receive the resource automatically, then they receive a series of helpful emails. Those emails build trust and provide more value. And when there's a product or service that genuinely makes sense for them, I introduce it. If they decide to buy, I earn a commission. And the system can handle much of that process automatically. That's the business I build. And notice something, it's actually not that complicated. There are really only a few moving parts: traffic, leads, email, offers, automation, and that's it. Now, does that mean I'd expect to put this together on Monday and be making thousands of dollars by Friday? Probably not. And I think it's really important that we talk about that. There is no magic button. There is no guaranteed income. And anyone telling you that you could push a few buttons and suddenly replace your salary is selling you a fantasy. You still have to learn. You still have to create useful content. You still have to understand the people you're helping. You still have to build that important trust. And you still have to give the system time to work. But here's what I like about this approach. Every piece you build becomes an asset. Your videos can continually attract people. Your email list grows. Your emails can continue educating people. Your funnel can continue collecting leads, and your automation can handle repetitive tasks. So instead of simply creating another job for yourself, you're gradually building a system. And if you're over 50, I think that's a really important distinction, because the goal shouldn't simply be, how can I make money online? The better question is, how can I build something that gives me more control over my time? And that's the goal. More financial breathing room, more flexibility, and more choices. Maybe it's enough to let you reduce your working hours. Maybe it's enough to give you some extra money each month. Maybe eventually it becomes something much bigger, but you don't need to know exactly where it's going to end up on day one. You just need to know what you're going to do first. And if I was starting from absolutely nothing today at 50 plus, that's exactly how I'd approach it. I'd choose one business model. I'd focus on one audience. I'd find a problem they already want solved. I'd use one traffic source, and I'd build an email list. I'd connect that to a relevant offer. And then I'd automate the repetitive parts. That's it. No trying to be everywhere. No spending 6 months building a website nobody visits. No creating a product that nobody asks for. And no chasing friends and family around trying to convince them to buy something. I'd build a simple system and then improve it one piece at a time. And if you're sitting there thinking, okay, Trevor, that makes sense, then I've got something that will help you take the next step. My business partner and I have put together a completely free training that shows you how all of these pieces fit together into one simple online affiliate marketing business. It takes you through the traffic, the lead capture, the email follow-up, the offers, and the automation, so you can actually see how the whole thing works together. I'll put the link in the description below. And don't worry, I'm not going to tell you that you're guaranteed to make a certain amount of money. Your results are going to depend on you, the effort you put in, the market you choose, and a whole bunch of other factors. But if you want to see the actual system and decide whether it's something that could work for you, go ahead and take a look. Because if you're over 50 and you've been thinking, maybe I should start something online, I'd say don't spend another 6 months jumping from one idea to another. You don't need 27 different business models. You need a plan. You need a starting point, and you need to take that very important first step. Now that you've taken a look at how you can start an online business in your 50s and above, the next thing you'll want to explore is how you can turn that into passive income. Please watch the video above, Passive Income Ideas for the Over 50s. I'll see you in the free training.